the first webinar in Captured Spotlight series. So we're going to be doing a bunch of webinars over the course of the next few months, just in regards to how Matterport and Captured can be used within different industries. Today, I'm really excited to introduce Jellis Craig and the lovely Angela Ambrosino, who's going to be joining us. She's the marketing manager for Jellis Craig. I'm Alex. I'm the senior account manager for Captured. And yeah, we're just going to be going through how Captured can be used with Matterport as a rocket ship to success within the industry. So how they can be used within real estate specifically, and how Jellis Craig are using this technology to propel them forward. So, hey, Angela, how are you doing?
Good, thanks, Alex. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. You can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, can you hear me good?
Yeah, I can hear you all good. That's perfect. Yeah, just checking that internet connection's coming through, but I think we're all good. So hey, yeah, thank you so much for joining. Yeah, I was just wondering if we could start off by if you could just tell me a little bit about Jellis Craig and yeah, what you're all about.
Yeah, so we were established in 1991. At the moment, I think we've got about 30 offices now across Victoria. So we're kind of still growing every year. We're really trying to kind of, I suppose, get ahead of the curve in terms of real estate with innovation and technology. And obviously it's quite a competitive real estate world out there. So just trying to keep ahead of that. And obviously with lockdown and things coming into play, it's been a little bit tricky the last 2 years. But we're kind of chipping away at it and kind of bettering ourselves every time we get stuck into a new lockdown with COVID. So yeah, it's a little bit.
No, that's really good. And that's why to have you on for this webinar, just kind of, you are can you hear me okay?
Oh, you're cutting out a little bit, Alex.
Let's see if we can sort this out. Oh, I'm on my hotspot connected. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Awesome. Cool, we'll just carry on, but maybe just just let me know if you have any troubles hearing me okay. Hopefully it's just a short blip, and we should be back to normal. But thank you for that intro. That's really good to hear, and that's why we wanted you on for the webinar and invited you in, because we know you're a really forward-thinking real estate agency, and you know, an agency we've been working very, very close with over the last few years. And I noticed that you guys were the first real estate agency within Victoria using this Matterport technology at the time. And yeah, it would just be great to hear how that opportunity came about. I know that you had an opportunity with realestate.com.au. They're the largest real estate portal within Australia, for those who don't know, and you had an opportunity to test out the technology from them. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So I think it was about 2017. Obviously, we've got quite a good relationship with realestate.com, and we do a lot of collaborative work with them behind the scenes in order to better the real estate industry. So in about 2017, we had one of the sales reps come out to the office and have a chat to our head of department, Sam Noakes. And they had a bit of a chat about all these new technologies coming to market and what was on offer for us. And just by chance, they happened to have a Matterport camera at the realestate.com office. So we set up a bit of a meeting. Lucky for us, we had a property coming up vacant, which was only a straight away from our office. So we decided to go for a walk down there and have a look and play around with the camera. So it was myself and Sam, my head of department, just got a little bit more of an insight on how it all works, what it's capable of doing as well. And just from that moment, seeing what it could produce, we instantly fell in love with the whole aspect of doing virtual tours on properties. And we kind of thought at the time, this is a real game changer, because no other real estate agency that we had seen online were doing virtual tours for their properties. So we kind of asked real estate if we could borrow it for about 6 months. So anything that we had that was vacant that we knew was going to come to market, we just got out there and played around with the scanner and took some scans of the properties. And we got a really good response from a lot of our clients that obviously hadn't seen the technology either. So for us, having that kind of an edge against competitors, not having seen it before, we kind of thought it put us in a really good position for a lot of our marketing and for our clients as well.
Amazing. No, that's really interesting to hear, and great how kind of you were given that opportunity by a real estate portal to then integrate all this technology in. That's really interesting. We'll probably go and dive into a little bit more about kind of the benefits that you're seeing now on the next slides. Just about kind of the advantages that you found that it gives you within the industry. So yeah, if you'd maybe like to talk to me through about maybe some of the advantages. I noticed that you said kind of a reduction in inspections and that ability to lease off market. Could you tell me a little bit more about that and how you've been utilizing it to kind of save that time and those inspections?
Yeah, of course. So obviously no other agency was using it at the time. So once we started kind of putting 3D scans on our properties, we wanted to get a lot of feedback from our clients to see what they thought about the whole process, because at that time, we were looking at buying our own camera as well and offering it as purely just the one kind of source of marketing for our property management department. And a lot of the feedback that we were getting from clients is that you're not disappointed when you get to a property because the scanner shows exactly the condition of how it is and how it looks. So a lot of the marketing that you see online for sales properties, they're highly styled, highly edited. A lot of people will get to the properties and it's not exactly what they expected. Whereas off the scan, a lot of the feedback was that, they didn't think twice about having to apply for the property because what they saw online versus what they saw in person was exactly the same. And it was a real, I suppose it got us a real foot in the door with clients as well, jumping on board so that we could gain more business, because a lot of them were only seeing our listings with the feature and found it really intriguing and wanted to learn more about it and wanted to see their property in a virtual kind of tour. So it enabled us to kind of win business that way, because we were kind of ahead of a lot of the other agencies in Victoria. And then obviously saving time with inspections and things like that. We've also gone from having, over the past couple of years, having 4 leasing coordinators who are out doing, back-to-back inspections Monday to Saturdays, reducing that to only 2 leasing coordinators, because once they've done 2 inspections of the property, a lot of tenants are happy to view it through the virtual tours and they're happy to take them and lease, and we're happy to lease them through that way.
Amazing. No, that's really interesting, and how you kind of touched upon all aspects of your business in terms of kind of sales, marketing, and property management. I guess the use of Matterport has a place within each of those situations, and appealing to not only vendors but prospective tenants as well. And as you said, being able to win more listings if you're going to tell a prospective vendor that you're going to be applying this technology to their home. It's a real good safeguard for them, and with the knowledge that their home's been scanned, being used for ingoing and outgoing reports and inspections and bond discrepancies, as well as the sales and marketing side. So that's really interesting how you're using it kind of across your business.
Yeah. We're really trying to get more into the sales market. Obviously, we've primarily got it for property management at the moment. And obviously now with lockdown restrictions coming back in, it's a bit harder to get out there for sales properties because they've got some different rules around that. But we are really trying to get it across the board for majority of Jellis Craig properties.
Yeah, amazing. No, really interesting. And the fact you're using it for property management kind of as the main use for it, but then also, as a byproduct, you're seeing a lot of advantages within sales and being able to lease off take them off the market without physical inspections that we'll go on to in the next couple of slides as well. So just moving on. Obviously, it'd be great for you to tell us a little bit about the properties that you're using Matterport with, and the properties that you're not using with. Obviously, it's not necessarily a tool for every single property, and kind of picking and choosing properties where this tech can really give an advantage in that space. I know you're saying kind of all kind of high-end vacant rental properties, and some high-end sales properties you're using, and maybe the larger, more expensive kind of premium properties you're concentrating these scans on. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. A lot of our high-end properties, we really push for our clients to have a 3D scan, because then we can take high quality photos off it and get a floor plan made up as well. So we're trying not to really give them the option of a standard photographer. We just kind of jump right in with a 3D scan. But primarily what we start with for property management, especially because you can see so much detail in the virtual tours, is we need to make sure that we've either got a vacant and clean property, or it's semi-styled for sale, or we've got tenants who are quite well styled and tidy with their living arrangements. So things like share houses, we don't really tend to go in and scan them just because there's a lot going on and there's generally a lot of furniture to kind of work our way around. So those real high-end vacant clean properties that we can just get in, do the scan within an hour, and just get some really high quality imagery from, that's what we're kind of aiming more towards. There is the odd instance where we'll jump in and do a tenanted property, like with COVID at the moment. We just want to try and get everything with a virtual tour so we can lease them as quickly as possible. So if we really have to, then we can jump in and do a tenanted property. But for the most part, we look at doing vacant ones.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And kind of, as I'm sure most people know, and those who don't, Matterport kind of picks up every single thing in the property. It presents it as exactly as it is. So I guess scanning it already, whether they're vacant or not, it picks up on every single little detail. So yeah, I completely understand. You're choosing ones that are empty and clean, tidy, or styled well as well. So I just wanted to dig in on this next slide a little bit more about your internal data. There's some really, really good stats here that I wanted to go through with you. So yeah, heading into lockdown in March last year, you had twice as much stock on the market than usual, which is really interesting. So can you talk me through why that was and kind of how you're managing that kind of at the start of COVID, how you've been managing to market these properties and showcase them online?
Yeah, so heading into lockdown last year, we didn't really know what to expect. And then obviously with people not being able to work, living arrangements having to change, we had a lot of tenants needing to vacate due to needing rent reduction. But also obviously working from home, if you're in a small apartment with 2 people, it kind of gets a little bit squashy. So a lot of people wanted to upgrade to a bit of a bigger space. So we really saw our properties on market go from probably 60 to 70 right up to 200. So we were dealing with constant rent reductions, trying to find tenants the appropriate living conditions that they wanted. A lot of people in apartments wanted to move to houses. So houses were in high demand, which meant that all our apartments that we had on our portfolio ended up becoming vacant and we weren't able to move the stock. So we weren't really knowing what to expect going into March, so the first lockdown, and most of our properties had 3D tours, not all of them did. So we kind of found ourselves a little bit stuck in terms of not being able to have inspections with most of them, and also not being able to show them adequately to prospective tenants. So coming out of the first lockdown, we kind of decided that we were going to jump ahead and we're going to really get organised. And we pretty much just locked in every property we had on the market to get a 3D scan. So whether it was tenanted or vacant, we just thought, let's book it all in case we have to go back into lockdown, which we ended up doing. So at that point, probably between May and June, we probably had 85 to 90% of our properties that we had online with a scan. The ones that we couldn't have scans done on, obviously we had some people weren't too sure about having other people coming to their homes because of COVID and spreading COVID and those kinds of things. So we just had to kind of be aware of those situations where we couldn't get into particular properties. But in those instances, we had the tenants either FaceTime with us while we were trying to lease the property as well, which made it a lot easier to have those inspections. So we really had to kind of think of different ways we could get around showing properties and leasing properties, because at the end of the day, it was our clients who were being really affected by it. So going into, I think it was July or August was when we had our really hard stage 4 lockdown in Victoria. We had the bulk of our properties with 3D scans. So we were able to jump in, and as soon as we had tenants wanting to look at a property, send them off the scan. If they liked it, we'd get them to apply straight away. A few people obviously wanted to wait till after lockdown to check them out, but then we did have, like, as you can see on the slide, 80 properties where tenants were really happy to just go off the scan and lock in a lease, which
that's amazing.
Really benefited us. Yeah. So, and the kind of, just to get an idea of what the market was like at the time. So we had probably 2 apartments for lease in Richmond, and Richmond is a whole heap of warehouse conversions and small, what we call cookie cutter apartments. So everything's quite similar. And in that one building, out of the 2 that we had, there were actually 30 apartments available from other agencies as well. So it was very oversaturated in terms of 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom apartments. And we kind of like to use that case study a lot, because the tenants that we actually got to lease that property came to us and said that the main reason that they leased it, despite preferring one of the other apartments that were available, is because that we were able to provide them with a 3D scan. They could measure the space, they could have a look at all the rooms off the scan, and they were happy to go ahead with it. So it really helped us push those 1-bedroom apartments during that time.
Yeah, that's so interesting, and it's amazing how much confidence that the Matterport scans can instill in prospective tenants and people searching for properties. I think that what you just explained, you guys did a case study with Matterport directly as well some months ago. And having those 30 apartments that were pretty much exactly the same. You were able to lease your one that you had listed there, and then every other property that didn't have a Matterport scan remained unleased, which is really, really interesting. And as you touched upon, 80 properties leased with sight unseen directly from the Matterport scans. It's just simply a no-brainer that people are really having confidence instilled from the scans. Days on market for properties with a scan is now consistently 50% shorter than those without a scan. That's a really, really interesting stat as well. Just, as I mentioned before, being able to kind of qualify people straight through and having them, lease a property sight unseen. The other thing that I noticed as well, and I think this was also from your case study with Matterport, is that your yearly operating expenses had been reduced up to $200,000. And that's just absolutely amazing stat to hear. And I just was hoping you could kind of unpack that for us and understand kind of where those savings are coming from kind of across the chain of Jellis Craig and you using this tech.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, I think it was probably 2018, 2019, we had 4 leasing coordinators. So their role is pretty much just to go out, do inspections for properties, get lease approvals for tenants and those kinds of things. So moving into 2020, obviously having majority of our properties with scans, we went from having 4 leasing coordinators down to 2 leasing coordinators. So their roles were pretty much, the job was halved. So we've actually saved in having 2 salaries, which has been a real help for us as well, because we can pop that money back into the business where we need it to go. So for instance, this year we've actually purchased our second Matterport camera so that we can move into doing a few more property management inspections, such as condition reports and final inspections for our tenants. So having that saving has really benefited us to move forward and to gain more of that technology so we can better our business and our clients as well.
Amazing. No, that's really, really interesting to hear. And I know you mentioned before about kind of the reduction in cost of relocation agents. Just maybe for those who don't know, it would be great maybe to just unpack that a little bit and understand how those savings were coming in from relocation agents, what relocation agents' primary job is, and how you're able to kind of maneuver that.
Yeah, so a lot of our tenants come from either overseas or interstate as well. This is obviously pre-COVID. So we generally use the help of a relocation agent, so kind of like a middleman in terms of the leasing. So they coordinate everything with the tenants. They come to the inspections for the tenant. They make sure everything's all good to go in terms of contracting and leases and things like that. So to be able to remove that agent from the middle, because tenants can view the properties through the 3D scans before, or obviously not having to take a trip down to Melbourne to view the property over a weekend or whatnot, it really helped reduce that cost in using those relocation agents, who sometimes we could be liaising with them for weeks or months just to get a tenant into one particular property, because there's a lot of back and forth. But with the scans, we can obviously just go direct to the tenant, give them all the specifications of the property, show them the tour. They can measure everything that they need to, because a lot of the time the relocation agent is pretty much just making sure everything that they have fits in the property that they're looking at. So they'll do a lot of the measuring and all those kinds of things. So not having to have that I suppose, middle person has made it a lot easier, and it turns around those tenancies quite quickly. So instead of a couple of weeks, we might even be looking at a couple of days.
Yeah, wow. No, that's really interesting. And I guess that ties into obviously everything that's happened in the past 18 months in this crazy world. People do want more space. They're moving further out of cities. They are relocating more and kind of, I guess, moving more into the sticks. They want, that extra space. So, being able to utilize Matterport within the industry, I guess even more so, reducing those relocation fees at the moment as well, if you didn't have the camera.
Yeah.
Really interesting. So I wanted to dig into a couple of, where are we? Here we go. So here's some stats kind of generally around virtual tours and how they're used kind of to make decisions in renting or buying. And there's some really interesting stats I wanted to sort of go into here. The top one, 22% of people have significantly increased confidence when viewing a virtual tour to go and inspect a property. I found that really, really interesting, is that I guess pre-qualifies renters and buyers into seeing the virtual tour online and then actually making the decision to then go and book a physical inspection. How have you found that with inspections? Have you found that you're qualifying way more people coming in who have seen the scan, and there's kind of more value of doing those in-person inspections when we could, I guess, compared to before? Yeah,
definitely. There's a little, with realestate.com, when we first took over using the cameras, there was a little bit of back and forth because on their website, they didn't really have the option to have videos or virtual tours at the beginning. And we kind of really had to push for our 3D scans to be on the website. So for them now to bring out stats to show virtual inspections is quite interesting, because they were really pushing against us not having them on our listings. But to be able to see the stats from I think these are from December or August last year to August this year, actually, to see that it's 22%, it makes our job a lot easier, because the confidence that we're giving the tenants in viewing these scans, it just means that our leasing process is turned around in half the time than what it usually is. So tenants have already made up their minds based off the scan before they go to the property, and the property is really, the property inspection is really just to reassure that they've made the right choice, basically. So a lot of them will scope out the scan, get all the measurements, make sure everything works perfectly. And the physical inspection is kind of just to see that the area that they're going to be moving to, or that they're wanting to be moving into, is what they've expected. So it's more so just to kind of justify that they're doing the right thing, which is quite handy for us, because it just means that we're on the right track and we're obviously doing the right thing to get these properties moved, and the leasing process is 10 times faster than what it usually is.
Yeah, that's so true, and such a good point as well. I guess it's really is a tool for instilling confidence in prospective renters and buyers. And as you mentioned, just making every single process more efficient, whether that's in-person inspections, it's evaluating the price or value of the property, putting in an offer, and also shortlisting the property as well. So kind of, all the way down the chain, it really helps to assist. And I guess kind of that's also where some of those cost savings are coming from, in that up to $200,000 a year, kind of, all the way through that chain. So that's really interesting to see. Just moving on now, I wanted to touch upon Captured. And for those who don't know, Captured is an all-in-one content management system that adds value onto your virtual tours, but then also saves a bunch of time. And I know you've been using Captured for the last few years. And it would be just great to kind of hear, before we dig into kind of specifics in the next slide, what you're using Captured for, and your thoughts and feedback on it, essentially.
So it's been a couple of years now using Captured, probably only the last maybe 2 years using the photo and floor plan options. But for us, it just means that everything's in the one place. So all our bookings are done through there. We can grab all the photos that we need from there. We've got floor plans as well, and all our analytics that we can see and that we can give back to our clients to let them know how things are going with their campaign also. So, and the fact that we can have branding, the stylized floor plans are also quite similar to what we have for our sales floor plans, which are done by a different different company, but CAPTUR's just really been able to make us match those and have our branding same across the board, which has been really helpful.
Amazing. So yeah, sorry, go on.
Oh, no, that's fine. I was just going to say that it really gives us an insight into how we can see through the analytics as well where people are spending the most times in our scans. So that's really helpful in terms of our campaigns for our clients to give our landlords a call and just be like, we've seen like we've got this many views on your property scan. It looks like it's doing really well, but we can see that people are really focused on one certain area of the property. We've had an inspector go out and have a look, and there's a couple tiles here and there missing. We've also called some tenants who have said they've got some worries about cracking in the walls. Let's go in and do some maintenance and get that fixed and rescan that space to get it up and running. So it's we don't have any of those issues when it comes to leasing. So it's been really helpful to kind of be like a campaign check-in as well for our clients and give them some feedback based off what people are really looking at on the scans.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, no, that's great. And I guess, using CAPTUR not only to add value onto the Matterport tech in terms of the analytics and the branding and everything else, but also saving you guys a bunch of time. I guess the purpose of CAPTUR is that you guys would go to a property, scan it, upload it onto Matterport, and then make an order for any additional content you need, whether that's extracting 2D marketing photos or floor plans, anything else, coming back onto CAPTUR 12 to 24 hours later, and everything's waiting there for you. Obviously, being a very busy real estate agency, I guess you want to reduce that post-production time as much as possible so you can concentrate more on the sales marketing side of things rather than post-production. So really happy to assist you there. I wanted to maybe just dive into the specific content that you're ordering and get your thoughts kind of behind those as well. So just moving on to the next slide, just some examples of floor plans that we can provide, custom branded. Obviously, there's a couple of examples here you can see on the right-hand side. But yeah, you've been ordering floor plans for quite some time, and how have you found that process in terms of kind of efficiency and everything else?
Yeah, it's actually been really easy. For my role at the moment, I was the one who would jump in and do a lot of the post-production in terms of photography and marketing and getting all that ready to go online for our client. So that was a big chunk of work of my week that I would sit there and deal with, and going back and forth with floor planners and trying to make sure everything was perfect before we went online. So being able to obviously pop everything through CAPTUR, and after 12, 24 hours getting everything back, that I can just kind of go through, tick off, make sure it's all the same colors and branding that we want. Everything's really stylized. So it takes a big chunk of my workload away from me, which is really helpful, because it means I can just get in there, grab all the data and the photos and things that we need, and present it to our owners or to the property managers, who then present it to their owners to confirm that they're all good to go. So it's a really easy process, and even to jump in and if changes need to be made, it's just literally just one click for those kinds of things. So it's been a big weight off my shoulders, not having to go back and forth multiple times to get things sorted. And it's a really quick process and really quick turnaround.
Oh, awesome. Amazing. Thank you. Well, happy to be of assistance to you. It's just on floor plans as well. We're moving on to kind of post-production. Obviously, Matterport isn't the sole the piece of marketing content that you need to market a property. You do need everything else as a foundation. So the photos, images, floor plans when needed as well. So really kind of delivering everything as a package for you to then send off to your clients as well to get that done. So yeah, just in terms of some of the post-production we do for Jellis Craig, 2D photo extraction. And also I noticed that you guys have suburb profiles as well. So we have an in-tour video feature in CAPTUR that enables you to integrate video within the tour, and also directly in on walls, floors, wherever you want to put them in as well. But I've noticed you guys are using it for suburb profiles. So whatever property the particular suburb property's in, you're actually applying that directly over the tour, which just supplies a bit more information and value to customers, which is really good to see.
Yeah.
Moving on to photo retouching as well. Just kind of touching on the photo extraction that's possible with the Matterport camera. Obviously, the Matterport camera is never going to be quite the same quality as DSLR, but it can be a lot more efficient when used correctly. So we do extract a lot of 2D photos for you and many of our other clients But we also have a photo retouching service that is amazing value. It's $1 per photo. And that allows you to spruce up photos to display them, market them online on web. So I feel there's a really good sort of price bracket there, and kind of how you're offering pricing to your vendors and marketing packages. So yeah, that's really interesting to see as well, from using kind of all aspects of Captured to kind of make your listings look as good as possible.
Yeah, and it also kind of gives us a little bit more, I suppose for us, we do campaign check-ins every couple of weeks, depending on how long the property is on the market. So when we first go live with the property, obviously we've got the set of photographs that Captured has provided us to use, that they've been edited and popped online. But if we get halfway through a campaign and we think, we need to kind of change up the marketing material, we always just jump back into the back end of Matterport, take some extra shots, different angles, and send it back through to Captured to get edited. So our campaigns are always looking refreshed. So we've always got the ability to jump in and take as many photos as we need. If we need to take more, we can do that as well. And it's just such an easy process. And it just gives our owners confidence that we're onto their properties, we know what to do, we can change things around whenever they need them, really.
Yeah, I love that kind of getting together and delivering a holistic marketing package at once from one platform. So no, that's awesome to hear. And finally, just wanted to dig into some analytics. I know you touched upon those before, and really getting a bit more granular within the Captured analytics compared to kind of the straight Matterport ones, providing a little bit more granular detail about kind of the total number of views, the total number of unique users, average time spent on the tour, and then also kind of where those views are actually coming from online. And I just wanted to share some data from the last 12 months from Jellis Craig on this next slide. This is from August 2020 to August 2021. Some Captured data here. You put 341 total properties through Captured, with an average of 312 views per property, which is awesome. And I guess out of those 312, those would be qualified viewers who would then go to book an inspection when we're not in lockdown. So that's really interesting to hear. And your top performing tour had over 3,000 views, which is amazing to see. So yeah, you've had over 100,000 views on properties in the last 12 months, which is pretty awesome. Most of those coming through realestate.com.au, some from domain, and then also through a direct URL share. So whether that's sharing the link directly with potential customers, potential tenants, it's really, really interesting to see. And a nice stat here as well is the average time spent on tours that are embedded into your website. We can see that people are kind of really investing quite a bit of time on viewing those tours directly on your website, which gives you guys some more branding activation and visibility, which should really help kind of driving people to your website as well. Yeah,
we really push for people to come back to the Jellis Craig website. That's the main platform we want to get foot traffic through. Real estate and .com and domain, they're kind of the ones that we want to hope follow after. So we're always kind of pushing back for tenants to come back through the Jellis Craig website. So it's been really handy to see where those views are coming from as well.
Yeah, amazing. No, that's great. And obviously, yeah, putting on, using Captured with Matterport to add branding activations to the tour and CTAs, lead generation links that will drive people back to the Jellis Craig website is also really interesting. And then just in terms of cost as well, the final point, the total average spend of your properties was 57 Australian dollars, so about 40 US. And that's just really interesting to see, because you are getting kind of the suite of marketing content within there for each property, whether that's floor plans, 2D photo extraction, post-production, photo retouching, and all of those analytics and branding as well. So obviously that's not including the Matterport subscription that you pay a monthly fee for. But yeah, seems to be super cost effective. And yeah, I guess a huge reason why those total costs in reduction of up to 200K a year are being applied. So that's great to hear.
Yeah, it's also one of the reasons why we're trying to make it our main form of marketing material for our property management clients, just because it's such an affordable package, I suppose. Generally, before using Captured, we were using a standard photographer, and I think just getting 6 images on their own was costing us about $110, I think. So that's just five edited images and nothing else really to go on. If we wanted a floor plan, it's an extra $120. And if we wanted more photos, it was an extra $50 or $60 on top of that. So being able to have everything and include it in the one package to our clients, they're more than happy to jump on board and get that organized for their properties.
Yeah, no, amazing. And I guess as well, there's that's not kind of negating the need all the time for a professional photographer. Maybe for, you know, the $5 million properties, you may need them. You may need to use kind of professional photographers to really get that property across. But I was just wondering, do you have kind of different packages, tiered packages that you offer vendors to market their property?
We do. So I think we've kind of tiered it off to be more, if it's they just want this 3D tour. So we've got one price just for this 3D tour, and then we've bracketed off the next one where it's the whole package. So we're kind of offering them the tour, the floor plan, and as many photos as they want. And that's mainly for our property management department. And then for our sales properties, because their marketing standards are a little bit, they've got more guidelines around what they can and can't have in terms of marketing. They have to have a professional photographer attend with a professional floor planner and have all that created offsite through another third party. But we offer the sales team purely just the scan link as well.
Yeah, right.
So there's three different kind of packages that we can offer our clients.
Yeah, amazing. And I guess that also translates to you know, Matterport technicians or people who may not be using the camera in-house and servicing other clients, the ability to be able to offer their clients different packages depending on what they need, I think is really, really important, especially within the climate of today. Offering, kind of different tiered packages is a really good way to go. Awesome. Cool. Well, that's kind of brings the first part of the webinar to an end. Thanks very much for joining us, Angela. That was really, really interesting to get some insights. I was just hoping now for anyone who's watching at home, great to open up the floor now to some Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box, and we'd be more than happy to answer them. Just going through here and seeing what we have. Okay, so first one from Karine Chan. She says, how long does it take to take a video or a scan, I guess they're suggesting, of a 2 and 3 bedroom apartment? I engaged someone to do the Matterport videos for all our properties last year, and he took about 1 hour per property, pretty long. I'm happy to take this one. This is a really good question. And really, I think it depends obviously on the size of the property, but then it depends on the experience of the person scanning the property. When I first started scanning with Matterport, I was taking a fairly long time, I'd say for a 2-3 bedroom property, a similar amount of time, maybe around an hour or so. But that time's pretty much halved since I was able to learn how to use it properly, which is really easy to do. It's pretty much, a single button on an iPad, and then picking up the camera, putting it back down, and having those chains of scans through. So 1 hour, it really depends on the size of the property. Some properties will take 1 hour, and some will take a lot less than that. For a 1-bedroom apartment, you're probably looking at about 20 minutes, maybe even less, depending on the size. So it really kind of does all depend on the size and the property and the experience of the technician. What's the next one we can go into? Here's a good one from Dan Watt. He says, I'm particularly interested in site plans. We invested in the camera and have been using it for tour floor plans successfully on all properties, including rentals, for several years. Where appropriate, we have started offering site plans. What is the most efficient way to get a site plan done? At the moment, I send Capture Support a top-down drone image, and that seems to work. Is there anything else I can do to expedite this process? Great question, Dan. I'm really glad you asked this. So Captured provides free site plans with every floor plan order if you want it. We use a couple of different sets of data to get those site plans as accurate as possible. So the first one is having external 360 views using the Matterport camera to take 360 views to any points of interest on the outside of the property. So whether that's an outdoor shed, a summer house, a water tank, whatever it is that you want to be included on the site plan, just put a 360 view next to it or close by. And then we'll also use Google satellite imagery and connect those two sets of data together to view the site boundaries of the property, and then add in any specific details with those 360 views that you've taken. Dan, I know you said you were using a drone to capture that site boundary, that's amazing. That's even better. That's going to help us get that site boundary as accurate as possible. Sometimes it really depends on that satellite imagery, Google satellite imagery, of how we can get that site plan as accurate as possible. So any additional data that you can provide us is a bonus, and we can make sure that that's as accurate as possible when returning it back to you. So thanks a lot for that question. Let's have a look. Angela, someone's asking here, are you comfortable sharing what prices you're charging your clients? Okay, if not. Would you like to answer that, or we can move on to the next one? I'm not sure if...
Well, at the moment, I think we've gotten to a point where we're kind of on par with the cost of the camera. So we're not really, because of lockdown, we're taking into consideration that it's a lot harder to get people out there to inspect properties. So we've actually waived the cost for a lot of our clients. So we've kind of done anything that's on the market longer than 30 days. We've decided to just get out there and do a free scan for those clients. So the last year or two, we've the pricing is very varied, just depending on lockdown and people's situations. So sometimes we'll jump in and we'll just say we're going to offer, a half price scan package to all our clients, which is roughly around $130, because then we take into consideration extra photos that we'll grab and extra photos that we'll take and get edited. And sometimes we also take in consideration that we might be doing a tenanted property scan, but then a couple of days later that'll become vacant. So we'll go back and we'll do that property when it's vacant. So there's a few different variations with pricing at the moment just because of COVID. So we don't really have a specific package cost that we've been dealing with.
Yeah, and that's incredible to hear that you are offering that package free sometimes, and depending on how long the property's been on market for. And I guess also doing that, it's good. Providing your clients or vendors with this technology, it's going to help you win more listings in the long run anyway. So I guess providing confidence to clients who you're saying, I can offer this technology for you. If you're a vendor and you want to sell your property, are you going to go with someone who isn't providing this technology, or someone who's at the cutting edge, using Matterport to essentially protect their home and ensure that the property is managed effectively? So that's really good to hear. Someone has asked, does the Matterport work well for external scans, verandas, swimming pools, etc.? This is an interesting question because there's a couple of variables that depend on this. The first is direct sunlight. The Matterport camera works with infrared. Infrared doesn't work well in direct sunlight at all. So, so it really depends. If you're in a shadowed area, it is possible, and it's actually worked perfectly. I've done a few scans myself outside in shadowed areas that have come out amazingly. But I just think the key is to not rely on that too much. Make sure that you're taking 360 views as well as external scans, and you can also use something called Cortex as well. If you're not familiar with Cortex technology, you take a 360 external view, and the Matterport system converts that into a 3D scan point and fills out that mesh within there. So depending on the use case, I definitely recommend having a look into Cortex. There's a couple of really helpful tutorials on YouTube about that as well. So yeah, feel free to look into that one. I'm just going to take a sip of water quickly. So Corinne Chan has also asked, how do you compare Matterport with 360 Virtual Tour Creator? They do something similar too. So the big difference between Matterport and any other 360 Virtual Tour Creator is that Matterport uses point cloud data and infrared to essentially create a full replica scan of the home that you're then able to apply so many other features and value into. So as Angela mentioned earlier, being able to measure inside the home. If you're looking for a home and it's unfurnished, being able to measure in the home and kind of plan out how you're going to furnish the property and where things will fit, etc., can be a really, really big advantage if you're planning to move in somewhere. Also floor plans as well. So the Matterport camera is 98.5% accurate 3D replica of the actual property. So just by doing one scan in the property, you're able to extract so many other bits of content that are highly, highly accurate, like the floor plans, like being able to measure in the space, and everything else as well. Captured also now has the ability to virtually stage a property, which is a really, really cool feature. So for those who haven't tried out our virtual staging for unfurnished homes, it's an absolute game changer, and we're continuously updating and improving that all the time. So please look into that if you're able to. I think we've actually answered the main bulk of it. If anyone has any questions at another time, feel free to send me an email. My email's on the screen at the moment. We'll also share this webinar deck around as well. I think it can be really, really useful resource tool for anyone approaching real estate or considering purchasing a camera themselves, whatever that may be. So more than happy to arrange a call, a demo, anything you guys need to help you make your decisions.